the Equalizer 3. So the Equalizer 3 is the third entry in the Equalizer franchise starring Denzel Washington, and this time he is in Italy enjoying his retirement, but his retirement soon is disturbed by the presence of the Sicilian Mafia. That is the plot of the film. Seems simple, right? Yes, it is. It is simple. The plot is simple, but it goes beyond that. I have a lot of pros and even more cons with this film. But I'm going to flashback a little bit. When the first movie came out, I was very thrilled with what Antoine Fuqua brought into the table here. He really knows how to make a straightforward action film with complex character motivations, and I really enjoyed the film. Then the second one came around. Even though it was a solid movie, this sequel was slightly flawed, and it is slightly a bit more unenjoyable than the first one because the pacing really drags. And the third film came out, and I just saw it, and let me tell you guys, when I came into the theater, there were just 8 people, including me. So that is saying something, and I didn't know what to expect, But I really wish I liked this film more. Now, let's get back to the pros. First, Denzel Washington as Robert McCall. Robert McCall is a really perfect character for Denzel Washington to play, and I really enjoyed his performance here. He really uses this subtle performance to show the audience he really just wants to retire, He doesn't want to get back into violence, and you really feel that. He's just enjoying his life. And when he is in the killing mode, you can feel that transition through his emotion, even through his eyes. You can tell what he feels. And I really like him in this one. His performance is still solid. The second thing I like is the cinematography. The cinematography really adds a layer of enjoyment into this film. There is a shot in the film that you really feel. You're really getting that feeling that Robert McCall is really a ghost. And I really like this. I also like the dark approach of this film. And it is slightly more slow-paced. Not slightly, but it is a slow-paced film. And with that, I will dive down into the cons of this film. And the first cons I have is the pacing. The pacing here is terrible, This film has a runtime of 1 hour and 50 minutes. That's the runtime of the film. Now, this film spends almost 1 hour establishing this Italian community. And that is too much for an action film, and for a closing of a trilogy, that is too much. 1 hour of a slow burn. Actually, I think this is more like a crime thriller than a straightforward action. And that is wrong to me, because this film really wants to close the chapter for Robert McCall, but it doesn't feel climactic enough to be a closing. So the pacing really drags. And when you get into the 40 minutes of the film, the last 40 minutes, you really start to hope the action comes out a little bit. And yes, it does, but not from the point that you would expect. You really expect a climactic battle between Robert McCall and the Sicilian Mafia, but that doesn't really happen head on, Robert McCall just shoots him in the dark, and that's it. So the ending of this film felt a little bit anticlimactic. So my third problem with this film is negative fanning. I really do not like her role in this one. How they used her. She is underused in this film because you know that Deckard Fanning is in the film and you really expect that Man on Fire reunion, but that does happen here, and I really do enjoy how they're bantering to each other, how they're talking to each other, but she's just there briefly because her character is mostly sidelined throughout the film and she doesn't add any narrative complexity to the plot. So her role was underused. And my fourth problem in this film is how they used the villain. Again, the villain in this film shows up very late at the last second of the film, and I really do not like that choice. You remember the villain from the first film? He was threatening since the beginning. Not like this one. The film doesn't utilize him very well, and I really didn't like it. Because then again, this is supposed to be a big epic showdown between Robert McCall and the Sicilian Mafia, but it doesn't feel like that. Problem number 5 is the lack of action. As I mentioned before, this film is mostly a crime thriller drama rather than a full-on action film, and that is a wrong approach for a closing of a trilogy, because you really want to leave this series, this trilogy, with a bang, but it doesn't really feel like that. It doesn't really feel like this is an action film that you're watching, and that is very wrong to me. So, with that in mind, I'm going to give Equalizer a 6 out of 10. To be honest, guys, I am very disappointed with this film. I really wanted to like this film, but the pacing is bad. There is a significant downgrade of the action. You know, at least the second film had a big confrontation battle, but this film really didn't have that. So the action is taking a back seat. So 6 out of 10. That seems fair. I really wanted to like this film, but if I would pick from this among these 3 films, I would easily pick the first one to watch. For this film, I don't want to watch it ever again, you know, because it is very disappointing for me. So 6 out of 10, that seems fair. And tell me, guys, how do you think about the Equalizer trilogy? And if you have seen this third film, how do you feel about it? Are you satisfied? Are you disappointed? Whatever you feel, comment down below, and see you on the next video.